I think with supernatural, especially supernatural characters, you can't write them just like you can't write a wolf shifter and a normal man. I mean, you have to look at it, they're animalistic. They will use all their senses to make their mate feel, the person that they're sleeping with, feel what they're feeling. So I don't see how you can, I mean, with the correlation between erotica, sex, and the supernatural, if you're going to write a vampire, you can't write a foo-foo sweet vampire that's going to kiss you and cuddle you. You better write somebody that's going to take and not do it. No,
vampires, I'm telling you, they're not vampires.
That's an insult to fairies.
Yeah, it doesn't count, and I mean, it's like definitely with vampires, you make them predators. You don't have to make them hurt the person that they're with.
Yeah.
That's not sex, that's pain. But I mean, with a dominant alpha werewolf male, he's going to squeeze you, he's going to do naughty things to you, he's going to lift you up, he's going to make you feel everything. So I think that that's really one of the main parts, that when you're writing sex in the supernatural, you cannot write a foofy character, a foofy hero. You have to write, even if it's a heroine, that's the person that is supernatural. They're going to have strength, they're going to have power. You're going to also have to write the sex, but you're going to have to write that they need to control this power, because when you're sexual, everything is uninhibited. It's going to be harder to be sexual and still control that power.
And
so
the
urge, the vampire urge.
Yep.
I think the supernatural, what it does is it magnifies emotions, makes everything more intense, makes their powers, like you said, more intense, their feelings more intense. So I think that's why we as readers enjoy diving into those stories, because everything is just more focused and intense than it would be between the two normal people. And I think that's part of the appeal we get out of paranormal.
I think you also have to consider when you're dealing with supernatural characters, what is sexual to that particular type of creature? Because, okay, obviously going back to vampires, blood is very sexual to them. That's what a vampire is ultimately. Vampire stories over the years have started out being pretty much about sex. I mean, Victorian vampires were about sex because they couldn't write about sex. They couldn't talk about sex, but they could talk about, ripping someone's throat out and sucking their blood. So, I mean, so if you if you take that element away, then you've kind of basically cut your vampire's balls off. But I mean, I think you have to consider what it would be sexual to a werewolf, or what would be sexual to a shape-shifting person who's like a dog, or whatever. I mean, whatever your weird, shape-shifting thing is. Or what would be sexual to a ghost, because ghosts obviously don't have a corporeal body, so they can't feel things the way a regular human would. So I think that, at least as a reader, the things that I want to read are things that are an author who has considered those things. I don't want to read a vampire story where as soon as they start having sex, he's a normal person. Or he's a ghost or this person is a ghost through the entire book, and then when they get down to the sex, he's a corporeal person. I think that the author has to really, exactly, and that's what kind of holds my interest.
I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. One thing I do with like my werecats, for instance, is they're very powerful creatures, very, very powerful. And of course, in a stable environment, he's with a human woman. They're about to go at it, but before they do, he even says to her, are you okay with this? To kind of remind her as what kind of creature he is, and it can get out of control. And to show her alpha side, she says, go for it, man. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But because, like Dahlia said, when it comes down to a supernatural creature, they're gonna fall into their animal instinct. They're not gonna be human, and you have to somehow meet that as a writer to realize that. Remember it. Don't forget it. This is not a human creature you're dealing with. And so I sometimes let people know that by having my supernatural alpha male say, hey, before we go, are you okay with this? Because, I'm breaking this thing. And of course, like I said, the alpha female, she's like, she may not seem alpha, or she may seem alpha, but her alpha female characterization really comes out when she says, let's go. Let's go. Do what you need to do so we can get this
Because
on.
she's not fearful of him.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
what I really don't like is that you see some of them, they're like, no, I don't want to, You want to. I mean, if I was in your position, I would want to, and I hate that they make them go, no, yes, no, stop waffling, woman, get the man naked. And being a female, it's like vice versa. Now you have to get a male character that's strong enough to handle her. That's like a woman coming up to a guy, and saying, look, wait till you get a load of me. Can you handle this? And the guy's like, hell yeah. So he has to actually meet her expectations or fail miserably. And when women are not happy, we are not happy. So make sure he does not fail. So you have to write him strong to be able to handle this. Even if he gets little bumps or bruises along the way, he says, yeah, this is what I want. You can't write a weak hero with a supernatural woman. It's not going to work.
Well, on the topic of supernatural and sex, I would like to know how the panel feels about the trend I've seen in using telepathy or mind reading or reading the other character's thoughts. Does that make a better story, or do you think it's sort of, how does that play into the whole getting intimate for the sexuality? Y'all think that's a vital part of throwing that into the sex and supernatural mix? Does it have telepathy or being able empathy to feel people's emotions, putting the psychic ability into the story?
That's no fun. Half of the adventure is the unknown.
Yeah.
At least just to me, that's how I personally feel.
Yeah, but sometimes with telepathy, if you don't quite use it as a full, like, I can read your mind type of thing, it's more like I can pick up, like, in sex, I can pick up how sexually aroused you are, but I don't want it. I'm still fighting you, I don't like you, I'm your enemy, whatever reason, they're still trying to stay apart. And he can't help it, he's getting aroused, and she can pick up on that.
And another work thing, you have to say that point was arousal and desire to sense it, but then if you go to that hardcore aspect of that person being able to push a thought into your head, like, you want me, you will submit to me, I don't like that kind of telepathy in
That takes
romance,
away.
because it's sort of like mental rape. You're basically pushing what you want onto that person, and they're unable to react or say no to you, and in essence, they might not want it. But if you see a book with that, you can guarantee that I'm not going to read it past that, because I'm going to say, well, he just mentally or she just mentally raped that person instead of giving them the opportunity.
Villain
to say yes.
to give them that power, that's okay, but not for your protagonist.
Yeah.
I think it would, well, not to the degree you're talking about the mental rape, but I think that having a psychic ability or a telepathic ability between the characters also strengthens their bond, and like you say, adding the tension.
Oh,
So
that's
I like to
personally one that
sense
has
that.
it. I mean, if you're going to do that, I think that both characters need to have this sense that they're on an even sense, because if this is a human and a telepath, and she can't sense what he's sensing, but he can her, she has no boundaries, she has no barriers. She can't keep anything to herself, because she can walk into a room and say, I think his brother is hot, and she's going to get pissed off. She doesn't have any barriers, no security away from that.
Right.
So if you're going to write that, I would
Walk
think
into a
that you
room by
have to
name.
put both of them on the same level, so that she can build up some sort of mental block against him, so that she can have something for herself. Because if she doesn't have anything for herself, she's basically exposed. That leads to resentment in the long run. She's going to say, okay, I can't keep anything from you, I'm out.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, I don't think there's any element that you really can't use in writing. It's just a matter of doing it right.